After many years of rumors and waiting, Metroid 5, aka Metroid Dread, is finally releasing on the Nintendo Switch. Metroid is a series that's been around since the Famicom and NES days, but never quite reached the same mainstream recognition as Mario or Zelda. But there's been somewhat of a Metroid resurgence lately. Samus Returns on 3DS, Prime 4 in development, and now Metroid Dread, which wraps up the main story started all the way back in the original game. Even the announcement trailer for Metroid Dread has over 2 million views on Nintendo's YouTube channel as of making this video. But if you're looking to finally give Metroid a shot, you might be asking yourself, well, does the original 8-bit game hold up? Is it worth going all the way back to the start before Dread to see how it all began? Well, in this video, I'm going to answer that question as I revisit the original Metroid.
The challenge is Metroid. The power is Nintendo. Defend the planet Cephas against the evil Mother Brain. It's survival or destruction. Do battle or die. Metroid, only from Nintendo.
For those who don't know, the original Metroid has a very simple premise. Defeat the Metroid and destroy the Mother Brain. But if you flip through the pages of the original instruction booklet, you get a little more backstory. To boil it down as best I can, Galactic Federation exists and there's peace and prosperity between the planets, but space pirates exist and they don't want peace. So the Galactic Federation police is formed to stop them. But the space pirates were too cool and too awesome to be caught, so space hunters or bounty hunters were sent to capture them. In the year 20X5, the space pirates steal a capsule from a research lab containing an unknown deadly life form that was dubbed Metroid. The space pirates who hate peace and happiness want to use the Metroid as a weapon to destroy the galaxy. How original. The Federation police then locate the space pirates' headquarters on a planet known as Zebes, or well, Zebeth, according to the original game's translation. The Federation police are unable to get into the planet. As a last resort, the Federation police call in the best space hunter in the galaxy, Samus Aran, the game's protagonist, to penetrate the center of the planet and destroy the leader of the space pirates, Mother Brain. So, guess the story isn't so simple after all. If you're curious about the entire Metroid timeline in the lead up to Metroid Dread, well then you're in luck because we have the complete Metroid timeline explained from our very own Adam Mason, which I will link in the description. Metroid was created after Nintendo's other big hits like Donkey Kong, Super Mario Bros., and The Legend of Zelda. In an effort to distinguish Metroid from other titles, it was decided that the game would be a non-linear platforming adventure game with a design that both encouraged exploration and collecting new permanent upgrades to expand your arsenal. The title Metroid comes from the combination of the words Metro and Android. Metro because the planet's design takes inspiration from the Japanese Metro subway lines, and Android because, according to the instruction manual mentioned earlier, Samus is a cyborg. Their entire body has been surgically strengthened with robotics, giving them superpowers. Notice how I changed the pronouns in that quote? Well, it's no secret nowadays, but back in the day, if you finished Metroid fast enough, it would be revealed to the player that underneath the suit, Samus was actually a woman. Whether the original instruction booklet called Samus a he because the person writing it didn't know, or they didn't want to spoil the surprise, we'll never really know. As the story goes, this happened because the production of Metroid was a very free working environment. Someone just said, hey, wouldn't it be kinda cool if it turned out the person inside the suit was a woman? Sure, the original 1979 Alien film was a big influence on Metroid, and the protagonist of that film is also a woman. But the protagonist of Metroid, a brand new video game from the biggest video game company at the time, being one of the first female protagonists in video games was a big deal, especially in 1986. And Samus is considered to be a breakthrough for female characters in video games to this day. So, not only did Metroid go on to inspire the Metroidvania genre as seen in video games like Hollow Knight and Axiom Verge, it was also among the first games to feature a female protagonist. So despite how anyone feels about actually playing this game, it's definitely an important one in the history of video games. And all that's to say, I didn't really like playing the original Metroid, or rather, I don't feel like the game has aged very well. It's not just because the game is old. There are plenty of NES games that I think are still fun like the original Super Mario Bros. But with Metroid, what was once innovative now feels like a relic of the past. At the end of the day, it's not right to fault an NES game for what it isn't, so I'm not going to do that. Rather, here's why I don't recommend forcing yourself through the original Metroid in 2021. For starters, this game is tough. Feel free to tell me in the comments that I'm not a real gamer, but with Samus only being able to aim up, left, or right, it can be hard to hit anything that isn't exactly lined up with you. And you can only move so fast, meaning dodging isn't always the best solution either. If you die, you go all the way back to the beginning, or at least all the way back to the beginning of a new zone since the game has multiple. Some people might enjoy the challenge, but I really don't like being forced to traverse back to the same place over and over every time I die and start back from square one. You also start the game with only 30 health, and 30 might seem like a big number, but it's really not a lot when the max is 99. It can be upgraded by finding energy tanks, and you keep those energy tanks even when you die. But when you do die, it still goes back down to 30, and those extra energy tanks are just empty. Want more health? better get used to farming enemies for 5 extra health at a time. Given the fact that drops are random, this could take a while, or you could just try to power your way through with 30 health. It's kind of a lose-lose scenario. The game also has no map, and a lot of areas look exactly the same, so it's really easy to get lost. It's one thing to get booted back to the beginning, it's another to have no clear indication of how to even get back to where you were. Plus, upgrades and secrets are so easy to miss, and rarely is there ever any indication that there's a secret to be found. Bomb this floor? How would you know to do that? This red door only opens when you shoot it with 5 missiles? Again, how would you know to do that? Trial and error? I don't consider shooting and bombing every single corner trial and error. Just a waste of time, but maybe that's just me. Oh, and those missiles I mentioned? There's a finite amount. Want more? Time to farm enemies for random drops just like health, and that could take a really long time. So if anything, I'm less incentivized to blow up everything around me when my missiles are precious resources. My capture card didn't even like this game, it kept smearing for some reason. In my opinion, one of the only redeeming qualities of this game is the music. It's so iconic and never gets tiring, even if I was stuck for a while or kept dying and trying to get back to where I was, and trust me, there was a lot of that. At this point, you might be thinking to yourself, well, now why is Evan so negative? It's a video game from 35 years ago. What did he expect? Well, first of all, you're not entirely wrong, but there's a very specific reason I lean a little more on the negative side with Metroid, and it consists of 2 additional words. Want to guess what they are? In 2004, Nintendo released a full remake of the original Metroid titled Zero Mission for the Game Boy Advance. Metroid Zero Mission is a full retelling of the original story with new cutscenes and an entirely new ending section starring Zero Suit Samus. So if you're looking to start with the first entry before Metroid Dread, this is actually the perfect place to start. But it's not just an improved story. Oh no, this game has all the bells and whistles. Save points so you don't have to go all the way back to the beginning when you die? Check. A map? Check. A system that gives you a direction to work towards? Check. Difficulty options? Check. Being able to aim your arm cannon in more than 3 stiff directions? Check. And here's the best part. Once you beat the game, you unlock the original NES Metroid. Yeah, it's included in Zero Mission. 2 games in 1. So if you want to start from Zero Mission and play that, you also get to try the original NES Metroid for free. The original Metroid was a perfect candidate for a remake, and I'm glad Nintendo acted upon that 17 years ago. So okay, does the original Metroid hold up in 2021? No, absolutely not. Play Zero Mission instead. Unfortunately, despite just singing the praises of Metroid Zero Mission, there's only 2 legal ways to play the game nowadays. You can either track down an original GBA cartridge, or you can download it from the Wii U Virtual Console. I always knew owning a Wii U would be cool one day. Currently on the Nintendo Switch, you can only play the original NES Metroid through their online service, but it's very strange to me that they went out of their way to make a really solid remake all those years ago, but now only offer the original inferior version. But I will give credit where credit is due. There are 2 special versions of Metroid on the Switch's NES Online that start you later in the game and with a bunch of upgrades already unlocked. So if you wanted to just dip your toes into the original Metroid, this isn't a bad way to do it, since there's a Zero Mission shaped hole in the Switch's library. So in conclusion, I really wouldn't call the original Metroid a bad game. Far from it, actually. Sure, it's not worth playing nowadays, especially with how much better each subsequent entry in the series is. But the impact the original Metroid made was tremendous, and it will forever be an important milestone in video games. If you're looking forward to Metroid Dread, then consider subscribing to our channel, as we'll have a video review and plenty of other stuff surrounding the game's release. We've even got a few Metroid videos up now, like the Metroid Timeline mentioned earlier, and a Metroid Buyer's Guide by John Luke if you're wondering which Metroid games to play outside of the 2 I spoke about in this video. And if you like this video, I did another one in the same format titled Revisiting the Original No More Heroes back in August, which I'll link in the description below. And if there are any other series you'd like to see covered in the Revisiting the Original style, definitely let me know in the comments as well. And hey, if you made it this far and you're listening to me right now, thank you so much for watching, I really do appreciate it. For all things gaming, keep it here on GameSpot.